what we want with the Innovation Fund is we want you to invest now in those technologies that we need for 2050. We don't want you to wait any longer. But of course, we also know that the current carbon price, even if it's now almost 30 euros, is not enough to drive all these technologies to the market. So this is why we are ready to pay 60% of those costs that you cannot cover through the market revenues. So those 60% of the additional costs. And as you can see from this slide, we cover a very wide range of clean tech. If we start with renewables, we cover the production and the use of renewable energy. So be it that you have a project of innovative offshore wind, be it that you have an innovative project how you want to use green hydrogen to make ferry ships go through the ocean, go through inland waters, or be it even on manufacturing plants. So if you have a very innovative way on how to produce new PV modules, this is also possible. So we are here to cover, I think, the whole value chain of renewable energy, be it the production of renewable energy, be it the use of renewable energy, be it manufacturing plants for components of renewable energy. We also cover the whole value chain of carbon capture, use, and storage. We cover all projects within energy-intensive industries, and there I also would like to emphasize, including substitute products. So we would also be very open, for example, on harvested wood products as construction materials, something we would like to look into. Energy storage, and here also including manufacturing plants for components. So also the production of batteries, for example. And of course, we are also very much interested in projects that mix all of these together. So also very open to cross-sectoral projects. And I know you have a lot of questions on this, on the eligibility, so don't hesitate to ask us. But as you see, we have a very wide field of applications as long as your technology is really innovative and as long as you can prove the emission savings. So we are not here, for example, for pure infrastructure projects like an interconnector. So what are the key features of the Innovation Fund? Let me quickly run through those. We will have at least a volume of 10 billion euros until 2030. These 10 billion are calculated at a carbon price of 20 euros. As I said before, currently we are at a carbon price of 30 euros in the EU ETS, so we would already have 15 billion available. What we can offer you is to support 60% of the additional costs related to the innovative technology, related to this breakthrough technology, this breakthrough clean tech. And always important to emphasize is we can support the additional capital expenditure, but also the additional operating expenditure for up to 10 years. We will do over the next 10 years annual calls for large-scale projects as well as for small-scale projects. Small scale we define as capital expenditure less than 7.5 million euros. And we have currently opened our first call for large-scale projects with 1 billion euro, and the submission deadline for the first stage is 29th of October. Then let me quickly touch upon two issues that are also of big interest to you, as we can see from the questions. The first one, we are very open, is if you're a single applicant or a consortium. So take the case of hydrogen. As I said, we are here to support the whole value chain. So we are very ready to finance the first big electrolyzer in Europe, really to scale up to a significant size. Equally, we could support the use of hydrogen, for example, in a steel mill or in other industrial processes. Or maybe these two are combined in one project. So you have a consortium, and it could go even faster from, further from the production of the renewable energy to the electrolyzer to the use of the hydrogen. How you combine this and in which way you want to structure these projects, we are very open. And given that we can also support the operating expenditures of up to 10 years, the additional one, so even if we only finance like the final use of the hydrogen, also the other suppliers further up in the value chain can profit. And Mark will later on say more on what are the roles of different companies in a consortium. So, and another important thing to emphasize, as with other EU programs, the project can start after the application for the first stage. So we can include all costs that incur after that. Of course, it's on your own risk, because nobody knows whether your project would finally be selected. So, and here's the selection process. As you know, we have two stages. On the first one, expression of interest, we have three criteria: greenhouse gas emission avoidance, degree of innovation, and project maturity. So, if you are good in all three of them, so, and we judge you, or the evaluators judge you, that you have both a promising and a mature project, we will invite you for the second stage for full application, where we will check all the 5 criteria, so including scalability and cost efficiency. As you can read from the call text, we allow a maximum of 70 projects to full application. So if the evaluators judge you have a promising project, but you are not yet there in the project maturity, we can offer you project development assistance. So this is run by the EIB, as they have a lot of experience here together from the EU Advisory Hub. And what we expect is that we can offer to around 20 projects project development assistance in the first call. So this will be the decision after the first stage. We expect up to 70 projects to go to the second stage, and about 20 projects to project development assistance. And how projects are ranked, it's very straightforward. We just add up the points from the different criteria. And the projects with the highest number of points will make it to the second stage, or then finally to the award of the grant. And let me quickly spend some words on how we would disperse then the grant once you've been successfully selected. Here we are different from other EU programs, because what we will do is we will pay upon delivery at milestones. So let's assume you come out of the selection procedure and you will be awarded a grant of 100 million. From this 100 million, we can pay 40 million upfront. So that means at financial close. So we will be there together with your other investors and see together, okay, is this project really going ahead? Or do we think, okay, the costs are just doubling, tripling, and there are too many problems, so we will move away? Or will we all agree, no, this is a good project, it should go away, so, and we can pay this 40 million. And it's also possible to agree individually other milestones before. For example, what I understand with geothermal projects, the drilling is a very important one, so we could have an intermediate milestone before. The remaining 60 million you will only get if you deliver the emission avoidance that you promised us upfront. So basically, you would get a payment each year during the 10 years of operation against the emission avoidance that you achieve. But here also, there is a possibility to agree individual milestones during the construction phase. But the important thing here is if you then don't deliver the promised emission avoidance, we want our money back. So anything that we give after financial close is subject to recovery in case you don't deliver the emission avoidance that you promised us. To be more precise, you need to deliver at least 75% of the emission avoidance that you promised us. And now on to the award criteria. As already said, we have these 5 award criteria, whereby we check the first 3 at the first stage. And this is now really the focus of this webinar today. Let me quickly touch upon the principles for the greenhouse gas emission avoidance. So how do we calculate that? If you take the energy-intensive industries, we take the ETS benchmark, we multiply it with the quantity that you want to produce during the 10 years of operation, and that's the reference scenario. And you have to be better than this. Your project needs to be better than this. And how much you are better, this is the emission avoidance. So we have one single European-wide benchmark. So for energy-intensive industries, it's the ETS benchmark times the quantity of the product. For renewable electricity, we want you to be better than the 2030 electricity mix. Again, multiplied by the electricity produced. For renewable heat, our benchmark are the emissions of a natural gas boiler. For renewable fuels, it would be the fossil fuels comparators from the Renewables Directive. And for energy storage, it's the emissions of a single cycle natural gas turbine. So there we would look at the peaking powers. So these are your benchmarks, and you need to be better than this. And then you compare how, for your project, do the emissions change in your inputs, processes, output. So if you change, for example, from fossil fuels to electricity, you will have 0 emissions in processes. But what is then in inputs? You use electricity. And there comes in the important questions, how do we deal with the emissions from electricity? And I think after the feedback from all the stakeholders and a good discussion at our last expert group meeting, we decided that we assume a fully decarbonized electricity mix. So for electricity, you can assume an emission factor of 0. And this is because we really want to go for those projects that will work well in a 2050 world, where we would assume that we have sufficient amounts of renewable energy. And that's, in principle, how you calculate your greenhouse gas emission avoidance. The degree of innovation, that's a simple one. You just have to convince us that your technology, your product, is breakthrough innovation. So what we are clear is we are not interested in incremental innovation. So we are not interested in minor changes that could be driven by the ETS price itself. So what we are looking for is really like upscaling, first-of-a-kind commercialization at a large scale. And you see first-of-a-kind in parentheses. It's not that we will only finance one single CCS plant in Europe, but we will, of course, finance several ones. But this is where we want to go. It's really breakthrough, first-of-a-kind, at large scale. And in the second stage, we will also consider additional criteria, like energy efficiency and the use of electricity from renewable origin. Because a lot of these technologies will use a lot of energy, and we will there also, when we compare two projects, look, okay, who can manage that better? Who is really able to use renewable energy that is excessive in the system, that doesn't lead to more stress on the electricity markets and so on. We will also look at the land impact of biomass feedstocks, and what we would, of course, very much like to see are technologies that lead to a net carbon removals. But on this, we will look in more detail in the second stage. And then the final one for the first stage is project maturity. And here, what we want to see is the technical maturity. So, are you technically ready to deliver what you promise us? The financial maturity. So, how do you finance the remaining costs, as we can only finance 60% of the additional costs? And the operational maturity. So, where are you with permits? Where are you in the progress of planning and implementation? And our approach here is, we don't want to produce you any extra documents. What we would like here to see is like all the documents that you anyway have to have for your internal procedures, for your pitch with other investors. And it's about how can you present that to us in a very concise way. And then if we move to the second stage, we will also look at scalability. So this is what is the market potential of the technology of your product, also including the cost savings that you would expect over time, but maybe also taking into account a resource constraint, in particular if we talk about the bioeconomy. So we would look at the potentials for sector coupling, the potential within your sectors, how many installations are there that could apply your technology, but also economy-wide. How do you contribute on building up these value chains within Europe? How do you contribute to the competitiveness of the green economy in Europe? And then the last one is cost efficiency. So how much money do you want from us for each ton of greenhouse gas emissions avoided during the 10 years of operation? And the maximum you can get from us is 60% of the relevant costs. But of course, you can ask for less. So if you have contributions, be it from public or private sources, be it state aid, be it from your investors, and that make it able for you to demand less than 60%, you are, of course, welcome to do this. And of course, here enters the whole discussion on how to calculate the relevant costs. And we propose you 3 different methods here. The first one is levelized cost. So you know this concept of levelized cost of energy. And what we want you to do is to calculate your levelized cost of energy, your levelized cost of product, and compare it to the market price. And from this difference, we can finance the 60%. And this would be for us the default methodology. So this is our preferred one because we would have an external benchmark here. And I think it's also one that should be easy for you to calculate. An alternative would be that you compare it to a reference plan. So maybe you have very good internal cost data on a plant that would currently produce, for example, like emissions at the ETS benchmark. And then you could compare it to those costs. And then there may be cases where there's no comparable product or no conventional technology exists. So maybe you add an end-of-pipe technology, and you have very good data on these additional costs. Then you could look into the third methodology. But our preferred one would be levelized cost as you compare to an external benchmark. So I hope that these criteria are appealing to you, are close to business, and that they are not only appealing to you as an applicant, but also to your investors. Because we will need co-investors, and as I've emphasized several times, and I would like to do it also today, we really want to create an ecosystem around the Innovation Fund. And in particular, we would be very interested in that you could support us as an evaluator. So we still need external evaluators for the Innovation Fund. Many of you have already applied, and we would like to thank you very much on this. So we already have a good roster of really high-class experts, but I think still more is possible. So I would like to renew my call, in particular for business experts. Please join us to help us to evaluate those projects. Like if you take now the first stage of the first call, you could expect that you work maybe on 3 to 5 projects. You would get these proposals. You would look at them at home during November, December. That's completely at your ease how you would organize yourself. And then there would be a 1-week meeting, probably in January, either in person in Brussels or virtually, where you could get together with your other evaluators, with your colleagues, and then discuss these projects. So you could expect a compensation of up to 5,000 euros for this, or you could also do it pro bono if this fits the corporate governance rules of your institution, of your bank. And of course, our colleagues from INEA will check very, very carefully confidentiality rules and any conflict of interest. But please don't hesitate to apply or also to pass this on in your networks. I mean, we can only be as good as the evaluators that we have. And then quickly, we started last time at the expert group meeting to also discuss about our upcoming call for small-scale projects that we would like to launch in December this year. So these are projects with a capital expenditure of up to 7.5 million euros. From that, we can pay 60% of the capital expenditure. So we have a simplified formula of how to calculate the support. We are also currently looking into how to simplify the other award criteria. This is ongoing work, and you already have given us input on this, for which I would like to thank you very much. Following the last expert group meeting, our consultants are currently looking at this. And one key question in this is, what should be the focus of the Innovation Fund, in particular compared to other EU programs that are out there, like the LIFE program, like the European Innovation Council accelerators. And I think what we see also from discussing with colleagues is we can again, I think here, sharpen the profile of the Innovation Fund, and we would be the ones to help you to bring the projects to the market. So like the LIFE program, the EIC would be rather to make your project ready to come to the market, so to finance a pilot, a demonstrator, to make the technology ready. But then we could be here to really finance your first steps on the market. So if your customers maybe are still hesitant to install direct air capture, we could take a large part of the risk here. So just to update you, this is our current thinking. We will soon come back to you with more details on this.